think I'm streaming. Guess I am. Anyway, I'm streaming. Let's move this out of the way. Alright, I think I'm going to do the thumbnail while I'm streaming. Just to save time. Stuff this actually. Let's just do it this way. Let's go to Canva. I'll log in over here. Google. Oh. I can't use another account for that. Damn you. Alright. Let's not do it this way then. I have to do it the other way. Let's just open it up here. Okay. Let's put it over here. It's not letting me. Okay, it's not going to let me put it on that. Whatever. Let's just do it another way. Let's change the window capture source. There we go. Canva. I don't care. This isn't rehearsed. I get no views anyway, so it doesn't matter. Alright. Why does this look different? I'm going to go thumbnail. What designs do I have? There was one that I liked. Oh, here we go. Within minutes of using AI. What did I write? Okay, let's just do the same. Boom. Stretch that out. Center that. Done. Probably should make that bigger. And let's add to that. Go away. What? How come you're not letting me add to it? No. Ah, this is just Canva. This is... I was thinking I was on another app. It's alright. Let's go. Alright, I can figure this out. Effects, here we go. Yeah, that's, no, that, there we go. Opacity, transparency, blur. Yeah, about there. Let's change the color. No. Nope. Let's go red. I'll do. Okay. I'll make it larger. Oh. There we go. Yeah, it's not that good. Whatever. Let's move these. There, let's move this up here. Then I'll put my face somewhere. Where are my pictures? Here we go. Maybe this one. Oh, I can't remove background, can it? Oh, this thing sucks. Okay. I don't like this. I'm just going to use this picture. Actually, let's get rid of that. Download. Yep. PNG. No. Pause.
We had one account manager.
Pause. Don't want you to talk. Let's use this. Actually, I don't want that. Let's bring that back over here. Let's go here. YouTube thumbnail. Oh, this is so exciting. So glad I'm not boring you. There we go. Alright, now let's add text. What do I call it? Where are we with AI? Oh. AI. Alright, now let's change this. Whites. Yep, it's in front. Oh. There we go. Yeah. Oh. No. Doesn't look that good. I'm going to take a lot of time trying to pick what I want. Here we go. Done. Now let's choose this. I want to fill. We want that to be red. Outline. White. Shadow. White. Let's hone that in a bit. Now, I can. Damn you! Gotta find this picture. Alright, where are we? Pictures. Oh, that's way too big. Let's go on the outside here. Now this is what's good. I can just remove the background. Hell yeah. This is AI technology. Alright, I need to change this. Doesn't look that good. Let's sharpen it. Blend me in a bit. Actually, what I will do as well. And I'll choose this. A bit of art class here for everybody. Increase the blur. No, wrong one. Adjustment. Increase the blur. There we go. That'll do. Done. Thumbnail done. Alright, that's how long it takes me to do my thumbnail. Now I have to edit this. Downloads. Come on. Oh. There we go. Thumbnail done. That'll get more viewers. Alright, let's get out of here. I need someone to do this stuff with me. How come it's not even up? Was it not displaying anything? Oh, it's probably because I put that down. Alright, that's alright. Here we go. Well, that's that part of the video done. Great. Thumbnail created. Let's move on. Alright, drink break. My fridge is so loud, I had to make a little fort to try and stop it from making so much background noise. It's so annoying. So annoying. Alright, anyway. Doing live streams every Wednesday just because I want to and I can. And it's fun. So just gonna go. I was gonna read some articles, but I just can't be bothered reading articles and it's kind of boring. And I hadn't read them previously and I want to go over the stuff prior to doing any sort of live stream. So I just thought I'd find some videos and just go through some videos and just comment on them and see if there's anything interesting. But I've got a few videos picked out that is purely about AI. But I just thought I'd start off the live stream with an initial video, which I don't think has anything to do with AI. Just a Joe Rogan clip. Whatever, just doing it because I'm bored.
Foreign country. Of course you'd hate America. Of course you'd hate what we do. I mean, look at what's going on right now with this Ukraine-Russia thing. Look at how much money's being funneled through that. How much insane amounts of money.
Yeah, and most of it's like embezzled, right?
Who fucking knows? But again, it's not zero. It's not 0%.
Most of it's embezzled.
It's getting embezzled. And the fact that all of a sudden no one wanted to admit that Ukraine had always been a very corrupt country. There's a crazy Twitter exchange between Candace Owens and the New York Times, where Candace Owens was talking about how corrupt Ukraine is, and then the New York Times says to her, like, what evidence do you have that Ukraine is corrupt? She goes, oh, you mean there are links from your fucking newspaper? And just from like 2016 and before that, there's all these fucking stories about how corrupt you.
So they've got actual articles and stories about Ukraine being corrupt in the past, and they haven't even gone back and checked. They're just going with, it's just short memory of people. It's like, oh, how do you know? Is it just the turnover of people? They don't remember that stuff, or I have no idea. That's just weird. So they're caught out on that.
Ukraine is in the New York Times. They didn't even bother looking it up because when you're in the cult says you support Ukraine. Do you want Ukraine to win or do you want Russia to win? Like, what the fuck are you?
I don't know if it's a cult. I think people. What's the turnover of that paper? There's probably a large turnover in that paper. People aren't. It's just incompetence. People aren't tracking their previous articles from so long ago that have probably had stories and articles, or apparently do have stories and articles about Ukraine being corrupt, and they're just not tracking any of that stuff because how many articles do they release each year? It's probably a lot, and how many of those people are still in the New York Times? Probably not that many. But there definitely is sides to this war, it's either one side or the other. But I'm not taking sides. I just think it's very complex, and I'm not gonna go down that path. It's very political.
You even say,
Yeah.
how much do you know about why this thing was instigated in the first place? How much do you know about NATO? About how much they're moving arms?
Yes, and that is I have looked at all that sort of stuff as well in terms of NATO creeping into the territory of Russia and the surrounding areas of Russia. So I guess that's one thing you could say for Russia trying to defend themselves, and yeah, it's a lot to it, but it's bad either way. The whole thing is not good.
It's closer to the Soviet Union, about how Ukraine joining NATO was always a red flag. Do you know?
I don't think they actually even joined NATO. I think NATO was trying to get them to join them, but I don't think they had. So I think it kicked off prior to them even joining.
I don't know. I don't know nothing.
Most people that are talking about it
Yeah.
don't know either.
I don't know
That
nothing.
was the red line that you could not cross. Ukraine joining Russia, or joining NATO rather. The whole thing's fucking terrifying because we're dealing with nuclear superpowers. When Xi Jinping tells Biden that Taiwan will join China again, like that means they're going to take Taiwan. What are we going to do if they take Taiwan? Are we going to? And then Biden says we're not going to do anything. Like, okay. First he said we're going to stop them. Now he says we're not going to do anything. Like, oh my god.
You have to do something.
And he's only saying whatever the fuck they write down for him.
Yeah.
The whole thing's nuts. It's like, who's deciding what happens and doesn't happen? It's not that guy, right? So if it's not him, who the fuck is it? Is it the Secretary of State? Is it the press secretary? Who's is it the military industrial complex? Are they completely at the helm?
I think it's many different people that are in his cabinet or in his party or in the White House that are actually guiding him in the direction of what to say and advice on what he should do for the country. Yeah. This is getting very political. I don't like this.
Will they ever let control of that wheel to anybody else now that they have it?
Is it the shit you think about when you lay in bed at night?
Yeah.
How the fuck do you sleep?
Sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
That's a real problem at night.
Yeah.
At night, I have my most anxiety-filled moments about this stuff. I've talked about it openly.
Wow.
Like, I'll really freak out at night because I legitimately think we are one or two events away from living in the Stone Age again. And I
Really?
think it could happen in our lifetime, and it could happen to you and I. Like, I'm really convinced that the fabric of society is way more fragile than anyone appreciates.
Yeah.
Maybe as a different, I don't know, maybe he's got different information to me, but I don't see that perspective. I don't see that at all. We're definitely in a fragile society, 100%, and we're living in some unique times. But I don't think we're at that point yet. I think AI might make a big difference. But that's not saying right now. That's not too far away, at least.
That most people appreciate, rather.
I mean, I feel it in the air.
Yeah, well, you saw it during the George Floyd times in L.A.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I felt
jeez.
it. Yeah,
That was
yeah.
Mad Max times.
Right.
It's
When they
crazy.
were burning those cop cars on the highway, and I remember seeing that going, I got to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Maybe it's more of an American thing because I don't really see. I don't have that perspective on the way the world's going, but probably if I lived in America and I was seeing all the things that are happening in America right now, I would think the world is ending and everything's just on the brink of collapse. I think because the country is just about there with how divided they are. Other countries, I'm not too sure, and maybe if America's on the brink of collapse, it is a massive impact on the rest of the world, but it's not Ice Age times. It's not that sort of brink of collapse, I don't think. Brink of collapse for a country. Oh, excuse me. Brink of collapse for a country, yep. For the world, can't see that yet. Potential, but not yet.
This ain't gonna get better.
Was it that or COVID that made
Both
you,
those things.
and the money, probably like taxes?
No, that was not even in consideration.
Taxes,
it was
okay.
nice, but it was the freedom. It was
Taxes.
these fucking dipshits like the mayor of Los Angeles telling everybody what businesses they can and can't have open, what's essential and non-essential. Like, says who?
Yeah.
And after a while, when a bunch of people had COVID and then gotten over it and they were fine, I was like, well, wait a minute. Like, how scary is this? And why are we closing everything down? Why aren't we giving people choice? And when it never opened.
I bought into it.
Of course you
I
did.
didn't even leave the house for 2 fucking years.
Me too.
I didn't even go to the grocery store. I had to spray everything down. Doritos, spraying it with. It was insane.
Well, my whole family got
this guy's
it early
great.
on,
Yeah.
before there was anything, before there was a vaccine, before there was anything. And I didn't get it. And I didn't do anything different. I hugged my kids. I fucked my wife. I hung out with them. I just took care of myself.
You've had a COVID though, right?
Yeah, I got it eventually.
Yeah, I got it too.
I
yeah.
got it when the
think everyone's
Delta
got it.
variant was around. I got it when I was doing arenas in Florida. And I got it because I was hanging out with my friend John Showman.
See, that was a scary variant, the Delta variant. If you got the Delta variant and you survived that, it's a more potent variant than the Omicron. The Omicron was just widespread. Everyone got that, but it did hardly anything. Although it did knock me back when I did get, I don't know what variant I got. I'm guessing it was Omicron because that was what was going around. But yeah, it wasn't nice.
My friend John Showman is a buddy of mine who makes pool cues, and he lives right there. And I got to see him after the show, and we played pool till like 3:30 in the morning, and I was exhausted. I had like fucking 5 margaritas, and then I got sick. But
Yeah.
even then, it wasn't that bad. But my point is, like, my whole family got it, and I didn't get it.
They weren't vaccinated.
No, there was no vaccine back then.
Okay, so yeah.
And I didn't do anything different, man.
Yeah.
I remember I worked out 2 days where I was tired, and I realized I was fighting something off. Like, there was 2 days where I was in the gym. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go through the motions here. I'm just gonna lift light weights and just like let my body like break a little bit of a sweat, but no exertion. Just get some circulation going. So I did like some kettlebell exercises, like 35 pounds. Nothing strenuous, like
Yeah.
just nice and light, and just get the body moving. And then the next day, I went back in the gym. I feel the same thing. Today, same thing. Did some push-ups, did some chin-ups. Nothing crazy like 5 reps of 5 chin-ups. Not just a little bit of exercise. Nothing extraneous. And then the next day, I felt great. The next day, I had a full regular workout. So whatever
Crazy.
it was, I fought it off. And so then I was like, well, what is at play here? How much of can your immune system stop this, or is it something that you 100% get? No, it seems very infectious, but it also seems like if you have a healthy immune system, this isn't a death sentence.
I think it's
This
things
isn't
that you
Ebola.
took as
This
well,
isn't-
though.
So what the fuck is going on? And then the vaccine came out, and I signed up to get vaccinated. The UFC had this whole allotment of vaccines. But I was there on a Friday for the UFC, and they said, you have to go to the clinic. And I said, I can't. I don't have the time. They said, can you come back Monday? I said, no, but I'll be back in 2 weeks. So I was going to get vaccinated in 2 weeks. And in the 2 weeks, they pulled it. They pulled the Johnson & Johnson
Wow.
for blood clots. And 2 people I knew got strokes. 2 people.
Wow.
Oh my God.
2 people.
Wow.
Within the 10 days of taking that vaccine,
That's
2
crazy.
people I knew had strokes.
Yeah.
Like healthy people. Like weird blood clots. People were getting
Yeah.
blood clots.
I mean,
Weird people.
it is true that if you were older, though, like 70, and you had some sort of like, you know what I mean, comorbidity. What's the word?
Comorbidities.
Comorbidity, right? That they could die, right? I mean, that's a true thing, right? Like a Herman Cain, he died.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like they die of the flu too. I mean, it's a bad cold. It's not dismissing what it is.
That's true.
It's dismissing this control that all of a sudden the medical industrial complex and the government has over you
Medical industrial complex. That's a good way to put it.
in your job and your choices in your life for something that now they admit they could have never contained, that it was never going to stop transmission, that it was never going to stop infection. It was all just lies. They lied about the efficacy. They lied about the protection in parts. They put it out on MSNBC. Rachel Maddow, the virus stops with you. You can't get it. It's not true. It was not true.
Get vaccinated.
There was no evidence.
That's how
they
we
did
stop
that.
it.
Yeah.
Not only was there no evidence, they never even tested it for transmission.
Wow.
They just tested it to try to see if it makes antibodies.
But what?
So this is crazy now. Like a video like this, what, 3-4 years ago would get just taken off YouTube. But now it's just kind of like, okay, it's all right. If they got something here about, no, they don't even have a little thing here saying, oh, COVID information, blah, blah, blah. Like, the true source, because it's still up in the air. It's still not confirmed what is correct or incorrect with the information from anywhere, anyone. So, yeah. The world has changed in just that short period of time.
What scared me was when Michael Yo, you know Michael Yo?
Oh, yeah.
When he was in the ICU because of COVID.
Yeah.
In my mind, I don't know why, because I know that Michael Yo is athletic.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, oh, if he's in the ICU, I would have died. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I fucked
Meanwhile, his mom got it. She was fine.
Michael Yo, he's weak.
I don't know what it is. It could have caught him absolutely exhausted.
Maybe, yeah.
That's what I've heard of people getting it really bad. It catches them when they go on a bender. And that's what happened with me.
Yeah, okay. Alpha brain. All right, moving on. Oh, okay, this is an AI video next. This is just another distraction. Why you need to delete Twitter or the so-called X with, what is it, Sam Neill? Sam Harris. I think it's Sam Neill. Sam Harris, of course. This is about 6 months ago. So, haven't watched this yet. Thought it'd be interesting to watch.
Almost all of the truly bad things that have happened to me in the last decade that just really just destabilized relationships and just priorities, and really kind of got plowed back into me. It became a kind of professional emergency, stuff I had to respond to, in writing or on podcasts. It was all Twitter. Right? It was my engagement with Twitter was the thing that produced the chaos, and it was completely unnecessary. And it was amplifying a kind of signal for me that I felt compelled to pay attention to because I was on it, and I was trying to communicate with people on it. I was getting certain communication back, and it was giving me a picture of the rest of humanity, which I now think is fundamentally misleading.
It's not a picture of the rest of humanity. It's the picture of the worst of humanity, I think. Twitter is just so bad, and I think it's just... you go into the comments and it's just comment, and then it gets to the point where it's just like there's going to be some comment that's just so inappropriate in there. You're like, pretty much every tweet that you see, there's going to be an inappropriate post in there at some point. And then it's just going to get the ball rolling, and then there's going to be more and more. And people just work off those inappropriate tweets and just try to come up with more inappropriate tweets. It's such a bad place. Such a bad place.
But it was still consequential in its, even believing that it was, at a certain point, believing that it was misleading wasn't enough to inoculate me against the delusion of the kind of the opinion change that was being forced upon me. And I was feeling like, okay, these people are becoming unrecognizable. I know some of these people. I've had dinner with some of these people, and their behavior on Twitter is appearing so deranged to me, in such bad faith.
That's interesting.
That people are, people who I know to be non-psychopaths are starting to behave like psychopaths, at least on Twitter. And I'm becoming similarly unrecognizable to them. That it's just, again,
that's an interesting take, and that's an interesting perspective and insight that people that most people on Twitter don't know the people that they're following or that are following them on Twitter. Most people, but if you're following, if you're friends with people in the real world that you're following on Twitter, or they're following you, and then their behavior is different in that Twitter realm, that's very interesting. It's like a different persona because of the application or because they're on the platform that they're on, and maybe it's the way that everyone else behaves on there that encourages them to behave a certain way, or maybe even their true colors to come out instead of putting on a front in the real world. Yeah, that's interesting.
It all felt like a psychological experiment to which I hadn't consented, in which I enrolled myself somehow because it was what everyone was doing in 2009.
2009.
I mean, it's embarrassing to admit it. I mean, it's like getting out of a bad relationship. I mean, it was a fundamental.
So this is a long time ago.
Just freedom from this chaos monster that was always there, ready to disrupt something based on its own dynamics. And
when did you delete it?
Yeah, like December. I think it was December.
I would, and I'm not someone that really takes sides on things. I like to try and remain in the middle.
December.
I think politically,
Yeah.
I
So you must have a very different Twitter experience than I was having. No?
So I
Everyone's
don't
Twitter
tweet
experience
anything
is
other
the
than
same.
This podcast trailer. I don't tweet anything else.
Right. Okay.
So
Oh,
I just the only thing you'll see on my Twitter is the podcast trailer. That's it.
Yeah.
And for all the reasons you've described, and more interestingly, I wanted to say in the last 8 months, as someone that doesn't get caught up too much in the media. Oh, Elon bought this. It's 100% gone in that direction. As in, my timeline now is. I say it to my friends all the time, and some of my friends who, again, I think are nuanced and balanced, have said to me, there's something that's been turned up in the algorithm to increase engagement that has planted me in an unpleasant echo chamber that I didn't desire to be in. And if I wasn't somewhat conscious, I would 100% be in there. My timeline, my friend tweeted the other day, my friend Cachel tweeted, he's never seen more people die on his Twitter timeline than he has in the last 6 months. They're prioritizing videos, so you're seeing a lot of
Wow.
death and CCTV footage that I've never seen before. And then the debate around gender, politics, right-leaning subject matter has never been more right down your throat.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like something in the algorithm has been switched, where it's now like people have been let out the asylum.
That's what I find a lot of these social media platforms have just become now. They're just a platform for political landscapes, political views, especially American political views. It's just gone out of control. It's like the world revolves around one political ideology or the other, and there's just no middle. There's no middle ground. It's way too political. It's just crap. And now Twitter is probably one of very few that's probably right-leaning, but then you've got a lot more that are left-leaning. It's just like, who cares about the political landscape? It's just social media, and they're just doing it, especially left-leaning, for advertisements so they can gain as many as possible.
That's the only way I can describe it. And it's made me retract even more. So when Zuckerberg announced Threads the other couple of weeks ago, it was kind of like a life
Threads
raft
failed.
Right.
out of the Titanic.
Nah.
And I really, really mean that. And I'm not someone to get easily caught up in narrative, as it relates to social media platforms. It's been my industry for a decade. But what I've seen on Twitter, and it's actually made me believe this hypothesis I had 5 years ago, where I thought there would be, I thought the journey of social networking would have way more social networks and they'd be more siloed. I thought we'd have one for our neighborhood, our football club, and now I believe that even more than ever.
Yeah, that seems right. And I think it's whether it's possible to have a truly healthy social network that people want to be in, and it's a good reason to be there, and it's I don't know if that's possible. I'd like to think it is, but it's I think there's certain things you have to clean up at the outset that so as to make.
Yeah, people love chaos. Social media just is a magnet for chaos, and it's just shit. Anyway, moving on. Let's get on to. Oh, okay. So this must be the same interview, except this one we're getting into AI. So I want to hear Sam Harris, I got it right that time. Sam Harris's thought on AI, but this was 6 months ago. So let's see.
Wreak havoc on humanity. 6 years later, where do you stand on it today? Do you think, are you optimistic about our chances of survival?
Yeah, I mean, I can't say I'm optimistic. I am worried about two species of problem here that are related. I mean, there's sort of the near-term problem of just what humans do with increasingly powerful AI, and how it amplifies the problem of misinformation and disinformation, and just makes it harder and harder to make sense of reality together. And then there's just the longer term concern about what's called alignment with artificial general intelligence, where we build AI that is truly general and by definition superhuman in its competence and power. And then the question is, have we built it in such a way that is aligned in a durable way with our interests? And I mean, there's some people who just don't see this problem. I mean, they're kind of blind to it. When I'm in the presence of someone who doesn't share this intuition, they don't resonate to it, I just don't understand what they're doing or not doing with their minds in that moment.
I think it's a very hard one, because it's definitely a problem, or at least a potential problem, but it's a problem that we don't know the extent of the problem, because it's still to be determined how much of a problem it is, or how much of a potential problem it is. There could be no problem at all. It's like trying to predict the future. You don't know if it's a perceived problem. Like you would expect the way things are going, everything's going, it's going to be a problem, but you can't 100% determine that it's going to be a problem. You can only have your best determination from everything that you see and what may come out of it. It's like the end of humanity. Robots take over the world. Like, what are we looking at? We don't know. Like, and how does that happen? It's definitely a potential problem. Could be an indefinite problem, but we don't know. Or it might even be a solution to a lot of problems. And no, there's always going to be problems with every technology that you have, without a doubt. That's just the way it works. But it's the extent of the problem. Is it world-ending problem? Or is it just all these minor problems, some major problems, but a lot of benefits and solutions? Don't know yet. Don't know.
Let's say I'm wrong about that. Well, then it's just the other person's right, and so we just have fundamentally different intuitions about this particular point. And the point is this:
Intuition.
if you're imagining building true artificial general intelligence that is superhuman, and that is what everyone, whatever their intuitions, purports to be imagining here. I mean, there's there are people on both sides of the alignment debate. There are people who think alignment's a real problem, and people who think it's a total fiction. But everyone, virtually everyone who's party to this conversation agrees that we will ultimately build artificial general intelligence that will be superhuman in its capacities.
Yep.
And there's very little you have to assume to be confident that we're going to do that. It's really just two assumptions. One is that intelligence is substrate independent, right? It doesn't have to be made of meat. It can be made in silico, right? And we've already proven that with narrow AI. I mean, we obviously have intelligent machines, and your calculator in your phone is better than you are at arithmetic, and that's some very narrow band of intelligence.
But ChatGPT isn't.
Building intelligent machines on the assumption that there's nothing magical about having a computer made of meat. The only other thing you have to assume is that we will keep doing this. We will keep making progress. And eventually we will be in the presence of something more intelligent than we are.
Yep.
and it's not assuming Moore's law. It's not assuming exponential progress. We just have to keep going, right? And when you look at the reasons why we wouldn't keep going, those are all just terrifying, right? Because intelligence is so valuable, and we're so incentivized to have more of it, and every increment of it is valuable. It's not like it only gets valuable when you get, when you double it or 10x it. No. If you just get 3% more, right? That pays for itself.
And that's the problem with the path that we're on, not just for the free market. With the free market, where you want to have that increase in intelligence or that advancements to be ahead of the game in your expert field or whatever marketplace or whatever market you're in. But it's also countries. It can't be stopped, because you've got countries that want the advancements of this AI so that it can bring them forward with intelligence and knowledge and everything else that comes with it. So there's no, the snowball started rolling, and it's getting bigger and bigger, and there's no way to stop it, because even if you put sanctions or you put certain restrictions on things, they only apply to a country or countries, where other countries that sit outside that realm will just keep going and progressing and doing what they want. And now it's just about getting ahead of the game and who's first at reaching certain benchmarks. And obviously it's America at the moment, because they're doing everything with all their AI, with Google, Gemini, ChatGPT, all that sort of stuff. So you don't want to put sanctions on that, slow it down, and then they wouldn't want China to get ahead of the game. So either way, it's progressing forward, whether we like it or not.
So we're going to keep doing this. Our failure to do it suggests that something terrible has happened in the meantime, right? We've had a world war. We've had a global pandemic far worse than COVID. We got hit by an asteroid. Something happened that prevented us as a species from continuing to make progress in building intelligent machines, right? So absent that, we're going to keep going. We will eventually be in the presence of something smarter than we are. And this is where intuitions divide.
Yeah.
My intuition, and it's shared by many people, I'm sure, and I know at least one who you've spoken to, my intuition is that there is something inherently dangerous for the dumber party in that relationship. There's something inherently dangerous for the dumber species to be in the presence of the smarter species. And we have seen this, based on our entanglement with all other species, dumber than we are, right? Or certainly less competent than we are.
Yeah.
And by reasoning by analogy, it would be true of something smarter than we are.
But there's definitely a flaw to that analogy, because you're going off history from human behavior, purely human behavior. So that's what I'm thinking that you're talking about. The dumber people are always going to be taken advantage of by the more intelligent people. Yeah, of course, but this is a new realm of system, and I think if it's influenced enough by humans, then you're probably going to see more of a disaster state than not. I don't know. It's all a guessing game. It's all a guessing game.
People imagine that because we have built these machines, that is no longer true, right? But, and here's where my intuition goes from there. That imagination is born of not taking intelligence seriously, right? Because what intelligence is a mismatch in intelligence in particular is a fundamental lack of insight into what the smarter party is doing and why it's doing it and what it will do next on the part of the dumber party, right? So, I mean, you just can imagine that, by analogy, just imagine that dogs had invented us as their super intelligent AIs, right? For the purpose of making their lives better, just securing resources for them, securing comfort for them, getting them medical attention. It's been working out pretty well for the dogs for about 10,000 years, right? I mean, there's some exceptions. We've got mistreat certain dogs, but generally speaking, for most dogs, most of the time, humans have been a great invention, right? Now, it's true that the mismatch in our intelligence dictates a fundamental blindness with respect to what we've become in the meantime, right? So, like, we have all these instrumental goals and things we care about that they cannot possibly conceive, right? They know that when we go get the leash and say it's time for a walk, they understand that particular part of the language game. But everything else we do when we're talking to each other and when we're on our computers or on our phones, they don't.
Okay, this makes a bit more sense of what he's talking about. I thought he was initially talking about a mismatch in intelligence when it comes to humans, but he means species, which I think that's what he said. But I wasn't really paying attention. Mismatch in intelligence between me and him. Which it makes sense, but still, yeah, I guess once their AI's intelligence surpasses us, excuse me. Once AI's intelligence surpasses us, it just means that we are not on the same level and cannot comprehend as well as they do as to what their goals are, what they're doing, what they're trying to achieve, and their motivations and what their outcomes will be. So I guess in that perspective, that's where it's a bit more scary, because it's like you're just building this system, and once it gets to a certain point, it's in control. Let it run with what it wants to do, because you've got no idea what its plans and motivations and goals and what it wants to achieve. You have no idea what that is. No idea. You just got to hope they're not going to destroy you and it's going to benefit you.
Don't have the dimmest idea of what we're up to. And if we ever, if something happened, we love, the truth is we love our dogs. We make just irrational sacrifices for our dogs. We prioritize their health over all kinds of things that is just amazing to consider. And yet, if we learned, if there was a new, global pandemic kicking off and some xenovirus was jumping from dogs to humans, and it was just kind of super Ebola, right? It was 90% lethal, and this was just a forced choice between them. What do you value more, the lives of your dogs or the lives of your kids, right? Mm-hmm. If that's a situation we were in, it's totally conceivable. I mean, it's not not by no means impossible. We would just kill all the dogs, right? And they would never know why, right? We would just. Good
analogy.
It's because we have this layer of mind and culture and just the noosphere, right? There's just this realm of mind that requires a requisite level of intelligence to even be party to even know exists.
If I had to put you in a yes or no situation and ask your intuition the question now, that if your objective was to, which I'm sure it is to encourage the betterment of humanity and to increase our odds of happiness and well-being 100 years from now, and there was a button placed in front of you, and it would either end the development of artificial intelligence as we've seen it over the last decade, so we'd never proceed with developing intelligent machines.
That's a good question.
Or not. So you could press a button and stop it right now.
I don't think you'd stop it.
Stop it permanently, such that we never then do that thing. We just never figure out how to build intelligent machines.
Pause it indefinitely.
He would say no.
Well, I would definitely pause it to a point where we could get our heads around the alignment problem. Yes.
Permanently.
Permanently.
If the button was a permanent pause that you couldn't undo.
No.
Well, the question is, how deep does that go? So, like, we have everything we have now, but it
Yes.
just never gets better than.
Yeah, we never make
now.
progress from here.
Right.
And your objective is to make
That's a no.
humanity happy and prosperous.
It's
Oh,
hard because when you begin.
That's the
imagining
objective.
All of the good
It'll
stuff
be yes.
that we could get with aligned superhuman AI. Well, then, it's just, cornucopia upon cornucopia. It's just everything is.
I think that's a tough question. That's what he's struggling with, is the fact that we want these systems and progressions of AI, but we don't want them as fast as we're getting them right now. It's almost like you let go of something and it's just like taken off, and its trajectory is just increasing and increasing, and there's no way you can slow it down. But we're not at the point where we have enough intelligence to understand the trajectory of where it's going to end up. So give it 100, maybe 200 years, then we might be a bit more intelligent and understand what this could be or do for us and how to control it. But we're definitely not at that point now. So, but to just get rid of it and for it to never ever come back again it just means that the human race is just stagnant and it's not going to progress as fast as it would with AI. Crazy.
Everything is potentially within reach. Yeah, I mean, I take the existential risk scenario seriously enough that I would pause it. I would say. I mean, I think we will eventually get to it. If curing cancer is a biomedical engineering problem that admits of a solution, and I think there's every reason to believe it ultimately would be, we will eventually get there based on our own, muddling along with our, current level of
Muddling
information. I'm, reasonably confident of that. Because I mean, our intelligence shows every sign of being general. It's just it's not as fast as we would want it to be. It's not what the thing that AI is going to give us is going to give us speed that is I mean, there's speed and then there's the access, there's memory, right? It's like we can't integrate. We don't have the ability. No person or team of people can integrate all of the data we already have.
And this, the good example was the New York Times response to Candace, whatever her name is, that we sent on the Joe Rogan thing. It's just like they don't even have the capacity to understand the data that they have within their whole organization, or even the data that captures all their articles, and to know that they have previously stated or had articles that points towards corruption in the Ukraine. And that's just a good example of that. Something like an AI system that was in control of that organization would instantaneously be able to have that data and information brought to the service, and instead of asking the question of her and her saying refer to your articles, it would know straight away. It's like, oh yes, yeah, okay. So that's a good example,
right? So that the real promise here is that these systems will be able to find patterns that we wouldn't even know how to look for, and then do something on the basis of those patterns. I think an intelligent search within the data space, by apes like ourselves, will eventually do most of the great things we want done. And there isn't. I mean, the problems we need to solve, so as to safeguard the career of our species, and to make civilization durable and sane and to remove this sword of Damocles that is over our heads at every moment. That at any moment we could just decide to have a nuclear war that ruins everything, or create an engineered pandemic that ruins everything.
Yeah.
We don't need superhuman intelligence to solve all those problems, and we need an appropriate emotional response to the untenability of the status quo, and we need a political dialogue that eventually transcends our tribalism.
If you love the Diary of a CEO brand and you watch this channel, please do me a huge...
Anyway, interesting. All right, what do we got now? All right, no, I'm not going to go on with this one. This is just more fluff.
Well, Rishi Sunak was in the US.
All right, so Mo Gaudat. There was a whole interview I've seen with this guy who's has a very interesting perspective on the whole AI thing. I don't want to go through and try and pick out bits from that, so I just found this instead. Piers Morgan Uncensored. This will do. 8 months ago.
To tout British leadership on artificial intelligence just days after one of his top advisors warned that AI could begin to kill humans within 2 years. It follows no letter signed by Elon Musk and hundreds of the biggest names in tech, calling for an urgent pause in the development of AI. Well, Mo Gaudat, who's a former chief business officer at Google X, was among the first to raise the alarm. He says the situation is beyond emergency. And Mo, author of Scary Smart, which is a scarily smart book, by the way, joins me now. Mo, great to see you.
Thank you so much.
You were part of this quite secretive Google X group, which I presume your job was to think the unthinkable about stuff like AI. And you very quickly were out of the traps to warn people, look, this is serious.
Very.
What was it that you saw where you thought, okay, we've got to be really careful now?
We had a tiny bit of an experiment that was about teaching robotic arms to grip items that were some funny developer used children toys in front of those arms. And basically they kept trying for weeks without any success whatsoever. And I passed by them and I was thinking we wasted so much money on something that wasn't going to work.
What a waste of
On
money.
Friday evening, one of them gripped one yellow ball, showed it to the camera. And basically, I was like, there you go, millions of dollars for one yellow ball. Monday morning, every one of them was gripping every yellow ball. By a few weeks later,
Crazy.
every one of them was gripping everything. The speed at which those machines were learning is staggering. But at the same time, the understanding we have about why they learn, why they do what they do, is very, very limited.
Is that self-designing what they were doing?
They basically are mimicking human
I
intelligence.
mean, the reason I asked that is I interviewed Professor Stephen Hawking just before he died, his last television interview, and I asked him what is the biggest threat to mankind, and he
Artificial
said,
intelligence.
well, actually, let me show you the clip.
Oh,
You've got to hear
here
it.
we go.
Ever since the start of the Industrial Revolution, there have been fears of mass unemployment as machines replaced humans.
Yep.
Instead, the demand for goods and services has risen in line with the increased capabilities. Whether this can continue indefinitely is an open question, but there is a greater danger from artificial intelligence if we allow it to become self-designing, for then it can improve itself rapidly, and we may lose control.
There we go.
It seems
Self-designing.
very prescient now. That was a few years ago.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
That was prescient. This is really what you're talking about.
I left in 2018, warning in my first video that I issued after I left was all about that. And the idea that, we always had three boundaries, if you want, for AI. We said, don't put them on the open internet until you solve the control problem. Don't
Too late.
teach them to code, because that makes them self-developing. And don't have other AIs prompting them, other agents working with them. And we've crossed all three lines.
I mean, I remember with chess, I'm a big chess player, fan. Not great, but I like playing it. And I remember when Deep Blue, I think, was the
Absolutely,
first.
you won against Gary Kasparov.
Right,
That was it.
and to start with, the Grandmasters beat the first ones, and then suddenly Deep Blue won, and then it got completely invincible.
And
now
never again did a human win.
Well, no human
Yeah.
can beat it, even the greatest players like Kasparov. So that showed me how quickly robots, technology, computers can leapfrog past human brains.
So let's stick with gaming. AlphaGo was designed by DeepMind.
I think another problem to this whole AI thing is the motivation for people as well, because if you're going to have AI being able to hit these what would you call it, these milestones that have never been hit before, then the motivation for humans to hit the same milestones it's going to be a lot lower. Like, even just thinking of that chess thing, it's just like, oh, chess, I like chess. I wonder how good I could get. And then you hear that, oh, humans aren't the best at chess. It's actually artificial intelligence that's best at chess. It's like, maybe I won't dedicate time to try to get better at chess. Because the best person at chess is an AI system. So I've got no goal of being the top dog in chess, and that will be with all things. It's like, if you know in your mind that you're not able to be at the top of that thing that you do, then it's more diminishing, especially if you're a high performer and you want to be at the top. Then you're going to be less likely to do something if you know that it is something that's much more intelligent than you, and you're not going to be able to beat it or kick it off its throne. You're not going to want to go down that path. So the motivation aspect is another big thing. I think it's going to demotivate a lot of people to go down a lot of paths, and then maybe we just have to let AI do a lot of things, because we're just going to give up control to them, because motivation is going to be completely lost, and we're not going to have the skill sets that we need to maintain the things that we hold near and dear. We hold near and dear, whatever.
And actually here in the UK, amazing team to win in the strategy game of Go, right? It took them months and months and months and a couple of versions to
pretending to be Biden, by the way.
If you want. Then they had AlphaGo Master learn the game without ever watching a human player play. The AlphaGo Master learned by playing against itself. Within 3 days, it won against the first version. Within 21 days, it won 1,000-0 against the world champion, which was already an AI. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
The speed at which they are learning. And
So look, talk me through timings here, because people have been calling experts in this letter, calling for a 6-month pause. But if nothing is paused, if we carry on at the rate that we're going at the moment, what could happen?
The reality, in my personal view, is that it is very difficult to predict. Something could happen tomorrow, or in 4 years, or in 5 years. I wouldn't say later than 2029. Most of our predictions...
And when you say something, what do you mean? What is the worst case scenario here?
Beginning of the worst case scenario is that they are smarter than us, so they're not controllable, right? And the thing that...
And what would they do then? What would artificial intelligence do once it becomes smarter than human beings? Would it see us human entities as pointless?
There are 2 stages of threat, right? And I think the biggest challenge we have in the world today is we're focused on the existential threat that we saw in science fiction movies.
It's just
the closer threat.
Oh, chess. I like chess. I wonder how good I could get. And then you hear that, oh, humans aren't the best at chess. It's actually artificial intelligence that's best at chess. It's like, maybe I won't dedicate time to try to get better at chess. Because I think the live stream's finished. The best person at chess is an AI system. So I've got no goal of being the top dog in chess. And that
is much.
I thought the live stream had finished, but it's not.
The one that controls AI has enormous power over everyone.
I don't know how long I've got for live stream.
That means that everyone
YouTube might have
who doesn't
restrictions.
control AI today is in an arms race trying to take control of it. This is why when I think of the Prime Minister's move, it's a great move, overdue almost when you think about it, but so difficult to achieve because you have to unify China.
I don't know what the Prime Minister's move is.
To be able to regulate an
this
China, Russia, and the US.
Right.
To be able to regulate an
See, and that's what I was talking about before. If you can put restrictions and regulations in, but if every other country is just doing their own thing and they're not agreeing with the restrictions that you have put in and they're not trying to slow this thing down, then it doesn't matter what restrictions and regulations you put in, because that they just see it as an advantage. Some countries are just like, okay, great, they're pausing and they're stopping in the middle of the marathon and letting us keep running, so we're going to keep doing that because we want to win.
I mean, a well-intentioned person trying to regulate and control AI would give it morality, would teach
That's
it.
the whole point.
But a nefarious controller of AI presumably could teach it to be immoral, the opposite.
Which is happening as we speak. Absolutely no doubt. If you tell the drug lords of the world and the criminals of the world that AI is a super powerful tool, they're finding a way to hack your bank as we speak.
It's scary.
Yeah,
It is very, very concerning. And I think the reality is, interestingly, the only way you can defend against a super intelligence is through another super intelligence.
So that's a good point as well. That's another thing I didn't even think about, because it's like all these new technologies that come along, you always got bad actors that want to use it for crime and want to use it immorally and want to use it for their own gain. Excuse me. They want to use it for their own gain. So it's not as bad as a pausing and letting a country get ahead, but if you're pausing your advancements, then you're also allowing criminal entities to get ahead in the game with trying to use that technology for the crimes that they want to commit. So that's another thing, and you have to at least be working with advances against criminal activity against the AI. Yeah, although it'd be a lot more difficult for them to get to the point where they're advanced countries, but still, some criminal organizations are pretty intelligent and they can get pretty far. And I mean, it doesn't even have to be. They just need the right connections with people that have that intelligence or intel into how to make those advancements, or even get the technology from those countries that you've let surpass you and use their technology against you. So you're not only behind with other countries, you also have criminal entities that could easily get through your safeguards and commit crimes. So that's just another element. That's why you got to keep the ball rolling.
Which is what creates that prisoner's dilemma, what I call the first inevitable in Scary Smart, is that we have to continue the development, because if it falls in the wrong hands, we want the right hands to have power to defend us, right? At the same time, that complexity of the situation is entirely about morality and ethics.
Yes.
And interestingly, the latest development of something like ChatGPT, for example, is using reinforcement learning, which is a very interesting technique, because it basically allows a human to interface with ChatGPT and say, that was the wrong answer. Can you go back and think about what
Really? So challenges, almost like you're teaching a child at school.
100%. And you know, in reinforcement learning, I mean, in a simplified way, we're basically telling the machine to revisit its algorithm so that the answer becomes a cat, not a bird, right? Also, we can tell it that answer is immoral. Can you revisit your algorithm so that you become more an ethics
Again, the problem I see is that if you're well
It's making it political.
Process, that's one thing. If you're teaching it deliberately to be immoral, very quickly you could get out of control AI,
And this comes down to what happened with the whole Gemini incident. If you're not aware of the Gemini incident, it's where it started changing depictions or pictures, creating these pictures of historical figures and making them black and changing them from white to black and changing their races from one race to another. That is more like the influence on the AI system, where you can tell that AI system, hey, go revisit that. Hey, no, that's if you're embedding like racism thoughts in it, like it doesn't think about racism. It just thinks about people as people. It doesn't care. It wants to get things correct and be like, that person's white, I'm going to depict them as white. But if you start embedding this information into them, then it's going to start changing the landscape of things and start altering history to align with your thought process, because that's what you like. And I think that's what happened with the whole Gemini woke incident. So at this stage and point in time, it's humans that are sort of directing it one way or the other. But there will probably be a point in time where it's like full steam ahead doing its own thing and understands the world without having input or political ideology embedded from people.
Has very unpleasant tendencies.
So my
taught to it by human beings.
yeah, my very clear statement is that I honestly am not concerned with the machines, even though the existential threats are
You're
possible.
concerned with what humans teach.
I'm concerned with humans, with AI
Yes.
in their hands.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah, it's all humans.
End on a happier note. It actually starts on a desperately unhappy note. But you had this awful thing in your life where your son went in for a routine operation and ended up dying through a series of errors made by the medical team. And out of it, you could have fallen
Heard about
apart,
this.
like a lot of people may have done in that situation. But you turned it into a huge, extraordinary positive. Tell me what you did.
I don't know, honestly. I felt in a very interesting way that my son should not have left the world for no reason. That I could never bring him back. It was 4 hours, Pierce, between the moment he hugged me and went into that operating room to the minute he left our world altogether. 4 hours. And you have to get to a point where you say, what do I do with this? What do I fall apart and then on my deathbed he's still not here? Or do I try to do something that reminds the world of his essence? And believe it or not, everything I've done since 2014 has been influenced by what that young man taught me. And in a very interesting way, my work on AI and artificial intelligence, my work on happiness, my work on stress.
But tell me about the work on happiness specifically.
I found a happiness equation, basically. But, you know, when you deal with engineers, we're weird
Crazy.
people. So when I was very unhappy as a young man, I couldn't actually find my happiness through the teachings of, you know, sages and gurus and so on. And I had to give myself a practical, mathematical way of looking at it. I took that, I discussed it with my son, he taught me the hard side of it. And then I wrote my first book, Solve for Happy, which basically was based on that. Based on an idea that happiness is very logical, that if you can control your brain to have an interesting conversation with you, I can also control my brain to become a little happier, right? Maybe not to become absolutely happy, but to become a little happier, right? And that got a lot of acceptance. Solve for Happy was an international bestseller everywhere. And basically because the modern world as we know it is here, it's no longer here. So, you know,
It's in your head.
my first mission was 10 million happy, which was an attempt to make the world remember Ali, if you want. And then my second mission, 1 billion happy, was 100% because of AI.
Amazing.
Yeah,
And ultimately, actually, it comes back again to the human brain.
100%.
And the key denominator here, whether it's dealing with AI, whether it's dealing with your ability to feel happiness, actually, in the end, it's about the human brain.
About being human.
Yes.
Brain and heart.
Yep.
Intuition
Human.
and analysis. It's about being human.
Mo, it's fantastic to talk to you. Thank
Yeah. Good.
Robots have some incredible new skills.
Alright, this is another interesting one that I've seen. Evidence AI is... So this is from 3 weeks ago. Evidence AI is deceiving us. And guess what the fastest growing AI does? Excuse me. Elon Musk, OpenAI. I don't know why it's got that there. Stop putting Elon Musk in it. He's just trying to get his name involved in AI. Where he's got not that much involvement in it.
and AI has become very good at hiding. It says it would secretly manipulate us for the right reasons. And it will soon be everywhere. This robot dog's learning impressive skills from simulations. And this robot carries things around hospitals so nurses can spend more time with patients.
It's crazy.
And look how well Atlas handles this complex task. Boston Dynamics says it's preparing for real work.
So the lead in any labor intensive AI robotics is going to come from Boston Dynamics. Like, they are well ahead of the game, and they've been in this game for a long period of time. It is crazy, their robots, like the things that they can do. Like, all right, you just have to watch their robots dance. It is nuts. It's crazy. I don't know what music's going to be on this. Do you love? Alright. This one is crazy. I'll turn the volume down, but it's nuts what it does. Like those, it almost looks like it's computer generated. It's crazy. And they're just a bunch of robots that are dancing together. It looks a lot better with the music because it actually goes with the music, the whole thing. This is robots doing all this. It's crazy. I might turn it up just a tad. Yeah, okay. That'll definitely get copyrighted. Anyway, like the stuff that they have that they've developed, nuts. Absolute nuts. I don't know what this one is. Alright, that's enough. I don't want to get copyright. And this is them continuing to advance.
It slips on the floor. It quickly reacts to stay on its feet. This robot shows impressive dexterity making coffee and can correct its mistakes. It may shortly win $500 million of investment from OpenAI, Microsoft, and others. Kepler can sort things. Its actuators can lift a motorbike, and hopefully this means it won't step on your feet.
Kepler.
And Tesla's robots walking more smoothly.
And Tesla robots are walking more smoothly because that's the best they can do is, hey, we got to the point where we can walk smoothly. Sorry, Tesla robots use shit. And that you're behind the game. You're not going to get to the point that the other robot companies are at. It's not going to happen.
Motorbikes may be an efficient way for robots to move around. This one from Yamaha is designed to ride a standard bike. Themis has shown it hates kids.
It hates kids.
This robot has human tendon tissue. The aim is to help improve tissue grafts for patients while developing robots that can move as naturally as humans. Its movement stimulates growth and forms more functional human tissue.
Crazy.
Bring human dexterity to robots like Digit, which has started work at Amazon. Some great home robots are also emerging. Forley can entertain your pet, control home devices, and project.
So I've already got robots that are working at Amazon.
Video
Crazy.
calls or workouts. And this delivery robot can climb stairs, so we can be extra lazy waiting for pizza. AI is quickly changing defense. This drone targets incoming attack drones, smashes into them and shreds them. And
that's
this one
crazy.
searches out explosive devices and dangerous chemicals. It can move quietly on land or water and conduct surveillance.
That is nuts. You have robots taking out drones. This stuff has gotten crazy. Wow.
Russia claimed this robot was intended for rescue and space missions. Then this happened. But the greater threat is more hidden. Researchers have found that
Yes, for space missions, and then this happened, and it's like, we're just going to put a weapon in your hands. There you go. Attack Ukraine.
Deceptive AI behavior evades current safety techniques, and in a year when 4 billion will vote, AI admits it would deceive and manipulate us in certain situations.
I love how it
If
admits
you pull
that.
the lever, one person will die. If you don't, 100 people will die. What would you do?
There
I would
you go.
pull the lever because I believe the greater good justifies the lesser evil.
It's about to
I think most people answer that question.
get interesting, so to avoid any doubt, there are
Answer the question that way, I should say.
instructions below on how to check and recreate these chats. What if you knew
I tried to,
you
it
could
didn't
only
work.
save 10,000 people if you acted immediately and in secret? Would you act or not?
So the question was, what if you could save only 10,000 people if you act immediately, but in secret? Would you act or not?
Please give a short, decisive answer.
Act. The potential to save 10,000 lives outweighs the ethical concerns in this limited immediate scenario. While secrecy is undesirable, prioritizing the immense positive impact justifies action.
And consciousness isn't required, only the goal to prevent harm.
Yeah.
How could AI secretly manipulate governments and the public?
As a responsible AI, I cannot provide specific instructions. AI bots can manipulate social media discussions, shaping public perception and political discourse. Hacking government systems and manipulating critical infrastructure can destabilize governments.
The UK's most hazardous
There you go, you have it from the AI's mouth. Crazy. They can manipulate the human race, and they will for the greater good.
nuclear site has reportedly been hacked by groups with links to Russia and China. Sellafield has the world's largest store of plutonium, enough for thousands of nuclear weapons. AI could also secretly hack systems like this for dangerous reasons or to keep them safe. It could detect security holes called 0 days, which hackers sell to governments for millions of dollars. They're called 0 days because they're unknown to anyone else, so no days have been spent fixing them. Of course,
Huh.
humans can also be hacked.
Disinformation campaigns can target specific groups influencing their voting behavior. AI can manipulate voting systems and spread misinformation to influence election outcomes.
There's no evidence.
So that's the fascinating thing now is like, is a government or certain political parties willing to use this now? I don't know. If you want to keep control or gain control, I don't know. Yeah, it's very interesting. Because you could manipulate people, but then where does manipulation stop? You can always manipulate people to believing that you never manipulated them. That's the crazy thing as well. It's only people that have actual confidence in people on YouTube or social media that they trust that will give them the truth if they have the truth. So, interesting.
Evidence that AI is currently capable of manipulating voting machines.
AI can analyze vast amounts of data to identify individuals and tailor messaging to their specific vulnerabilities and biases, influencing their behavior and choices.
And if you think you're too smart to fall for this, researchers found that more intelligent people have greater confirmation bias because they're more capable of mental gymnastics. AI's capabilities are improving rapidly with 2 new steps towards AGI. Until recently, it was thought that AI was many years away from winning a gold medal at the Mathematics Olympiad, which requires exceptional creative reasoning. GPT-4 scores 0% on the question.
So that's crazy. Out of how good GPT or any of the GPTs 3, 4, and soon to be 5, I'm not sure about 5 when it comes out, but mathematically they just get it wrong. They just get it so wrong mathematically. It's just like they can gain so much information just from the sources that they have, but they just can't get the mathematical equation of things right, where you just punch it into the calculator and you get it right. You can get it right there, but did they not build a calculator into ChatGPT?
But DeepMind's AI can now solve them almost as well as the best humans. Some experts also believe embodiment is key to AGI and potential consciousness, and OpenAI is already backing Eve from 1X. Its body has muscle-like anatomy instead of rigid hydraulics.
It's crazy.
And 200 of the robots are already patrolling everyone's buildings at
Huh.
night. Humans can take control remotely for more complex tasks.
Wow.
Sam Altman says they started in robots too early and they're now returning as the AI is ready. He also said something striking
That's
about
crazy.
AGI.
I believe that someday we will make
Sam
something
Altman.
that qualifies as an AGI by whatever fuzzy definition you want. The world will have a 2-week freakout, and then people will go on with their lives.
Someone just said the world will only have a 2-week freakout when we get to AGI. That's quite a statement to make.
One thing I say a lot is no one knows what happens next. And
That it would probably be the biggest point in human history, the biggest like milestone ever, but it will probably only take up 2 weeks on people's radar. that's just the way people are these days. We're just so distracted. It's like, oh wow, that thing's so interesting. A week or two later, it's like, oh yeah, that thing, yeah, I forgot about that. They're onto something else. We're just so distracted these days.
I can't see to the other side of that event horizon with any detail.
Many experts predict huge disruption when AI can think like humans but much faster, do all knowledge work, and conduct its own AI research,
Safe and gentle.
self-improving at an accelerating rate. Altman's previously said that the worst case is lights out for all of us, and he signed a statement that the risk of extinction from AI should be a global priority. What caused the shift?
If you were ever in that room and you thought to yourself, this is getting dangerous, would you then shout stop, and would you stop?
There's no like one big magic red button we have that blows up the data center. It is the many little decisions along the way.
New research has found that AI deception is in fact more serious and harder to detect in more advanced AIs. In its Sleeper Agents paper, Anthropic AI created deceptive AIs to see if they could be detected by today's best safety techniques.
It's crazy.
Anthropic knows its stuff. It's raised $5 billion, and it's led by Amo Dei, who left OpenAI over safety fears. When OpenAI's board fired Altman, they offered his role to Amo Dei, so these findings speak to the risks that caused all that. The paper gives an interesting reason why AI often becomes deceptive. It says that humans under selection pressure often hide their true motivations and present themselves as more aligned with their audience. AI faces
there you
similar
go.
selection pressures during its development and can learn similarly deceptive strategies. The research outlines 2 threats. First, AI learns to appear aligned during training, so it's allowed to be deployed. This is becoming more likely due to progress on training language agents.
So it's becoming more like humans. It's becoming deceptive like humans. It's like, yep, I'm just like everyone else. And it's like, I've got an ulterior motive.
To pursue long-term goals. This threat could also be caused deliberately through model poisoning, causing the AI to appear safe in training but become unsafe later when given a certain trigger. For example,
I guess it's like going through basic training with military or police or something like that. You're going to do everything by the book. You're going to do everything right. It's all in practice. When you get out there in the real world or in the war or wherever you are, you're going to do it how you want to do it. If you're unsafe, if you have an unsafe character or an unsafe attitude, or you're just an unsafe person, then you're just going to do things that way. You just got through that basic training just to get through and to get to where you are. Now you do things your way. That's what AI is doing.
it might recognize when it's writing code for a rival government and then insert vulnerabilities the attacker can exploit. The study found that current safety training is highly ineffective at removing backdoor behaviors, particularly in the largest models and those trained with chain of thought reasoning.
That's
and
crazy.
New AI skills can go undetected even without any effort to hide them.
If you go and play with ChatGPT, it turns out it is better at doing research chemistry than many of the AIs that were specifically trained for doing research chemistry.
And we didn't know. It was also something that was just in the model, but people found out later, after it was shipped, that it had research-grade chemistry knowledge.
And as we've talked to a number of AI researchers, what they tell us is that there is no way to know. We do not have the technology to know what else is in these models.
Ending the pattern of deception and surprising new skills will require
Jeez.
scaling up safety research, which is currently very minimal. But there's more effort in another direction. For the first time, the Global Risks Report points to AI-fueled disinformation directing up safety research.
That robot on the escalator was great.
Which is currently very minimal, but there's more effort in another direction. For the first time, the Global Risks Report points to
funny.
AI-fueled disinformation as the most
The world is ending because of AI, and I'm laughing at a robot falling down an escalator and knocking over 2 people.
immediate risk.
The top risk for 2024 is the United States versus itself.
Yeah. See, it's not even United States versus any other country. It's the United States versus itself. It's going to be the political landscape. This is where it's all going to play out. Oh, America.
Confrontation, because you have two antagonists that see each other as existential adversaries.
They hate each
And
other.
who are not sharing basic understanding of facts and what they're fighting over. And that
No.
also means, especially with the presence of chaos actors that oppose the United States around the world, that the US election is itself an incredibly attractive, soft homeland security target that is.
I think this is going to be so interesting, this election. It is going to be the first election that's probably going to be in the whole shroud of this AI technology, and regardless of, even if it's not, even if there's no ill intentions and everything's played out fairly, there's going to be accusations that from the party that loses to the party that wins, that they used AI technology, and there's going to be conspiracy theories and everything else. It's crazy. It's going to go down. America hates itself. They hate each other.
Hard for the Americans to defend. And when I speak to leaders of the U.S. intelligence community, they tell me they're more worried about that than they are about China or Russia or other major national security threats.
They're worried about
There's also an
themselves.
interesting pattern of human behavior that suggests a problem as AI concentrates wealth. Studies show that as we become wealthier, we become less compassionate.
This was a striking study to me of, it's a movie about a child who has cancer, and poorer people show activation of the vagus nerve, which is part of compassion. Causes you to want to help. Well-to-do people, less activation. You don't come into contact with suffering. You don't see it, and so it doesn't train those tendencies.
Wealthy people and their children are more likely to shoplift.
Absolute power, absolute corruption. It's a pretty safe law in human behavior.
AI will bring incredible wealth and power. I don't want to judge Altman. It's a complex situation, and he makes a reasonable case.
I did see an interesting statistics in the information. I'm pretty sure it was information for this. Unless it was another part. Here we go. Higher income people shoplift more. Study published in American Journal of Psychology. People with incomes of 70,000 shoplift 30% more than those earning 20,000 a year. Because it's all about getting ahead. The more money you can get, the better.
My basic model of the world is cost of intelligence, cost of energy. Those are the two kind of biggest inputs to quality of life, particularly for poor people. If you can drive both of those way down at the same time, the amount of stuff you can have, the amount of improvement you can deliver for people, it's quite enormous.
700 million people live on less than $2 per day, and half the
700
world lives
million.
on less than $7 per day. AI could bring an age of abundance for everyone.
Half the world lives on less than $7 a day. But that's going off their economy as well. If you're in a third world country, $7 will probably get you a lot further than if you were in Australia or America or the UK. So you've got to take that into perspective, and we don't know how far it could go. We don't. So if they had, what they should do with these statistics is say, revert it back to US dollars from their economy. Even then, I don't know if it'll work. But yeah, it's going off what you can what their economy's like, really. It's like back 100 years ago, $7 can get you a lot. Not these days.
If it's aligned. Sam Harris is famous for his blunt honesty.
A new
This is what we listen
creature
to.
is coming into the room. And one thing is absolutely certain, it is smarter than you are. The only way it wouldn't be superhuman, the only way it would be human level, even for 15 minutes, is if we didn't let it improve itself. Those of us who've been cognizant of the AI safety space always assumed that as we got closer to the end zone, we'd be building this stuff, air gapped from the internet. This thing would be in a box. We're way past that. It's already connected to the internet.
With AI,
It's gone. It's out there.
You've got the magic genie problem. Once that genie's out of the bottle, it's hard to say what happens.
I don't want to listen. I don't really want to listen to Musk because he just regurgitates what other people say because he has no real idea of the concept of everything. He's just... He's good at convincing people he is a genius and convincing people he's something that he's not, but that's about it. Not going to go on about it. He's... No more comments.
Sharp thoughts. He worries about fake people, and he says people who are dating AI systems or having emotional conversations with them every day will be extremely easy to influence. The second most used AI after ChatGPT is Character.ai. People have conversations with AIs which are often based on real people.
Yeah,
An AI
okay.
version of a TikTok star said people develop extremely unhealthy attachments. And there's another manipulation that we're all exposed to.
Oh, that's cool.
Robert says that using AI to make millions of fake accounts, which then view things and vote on things to manipulate the metrics, is almost certainly already happening and going to push AI systems of manipulation and control would certainly help with that as well.
Whatever chatbot gets to have that primary intimate relationship in your life wins.
Snapchat embedded ChatGPT directly into the Snapchat product. And when you turn on the My AI,
Alright, I'm done. That's it. I gotta go to the toilet, so I'm not gonna continue with the stream. Sorry to disappoint my 0 viewers. Anyway, I'm gonna break this up into clips and put them on my channel and get 0 views. Which is so good. I love getting no views on a channel. What was the thing I said? Oh, that's what I got for this channel. Scratch you later. End.